There is some document and a pen on the table. Some girl can be heard in the background who says that she does not want to accept this offer. The main character, whose name is Dahlia, is very unhappy with something. In addition, according to the contract that they signed, they must get divorced when both take revenge. The contract was very simple. Johann will help Dahlia to take revenge on someone, and in return, she will help him to take revenge on someone too, but for now they will behave like an ordinary couple. After they do their deeds and get their revenge, they can go back to their normal lives. God once said, when revenge is completed, there'll only be one person who can stay in this world, and therefore the main character can no longer be here. Turning around and getting ready to go home, she said that she would send him the document again. When he comes, Johann should stamp it. At that moment, the guy in despair began to beg the girl not to leave, but the main character was at a loss and did not understand why he was stopping her. Stopping for the last time, she asked him to leave her to leave. Besides, she already got revenge and she no longer has lingering feelings for this life. She also thanked the guy for being so good with her all this time. Holding his heart, the guy loudly declared that he loves Dahlia. At that moment, he felt butterflies in his stomach. When the girl heard that, she was just shocked because she did not expect that this day would come, and Johann would finally say that he loved her. At that moment, the main character remembered the day when she tore out the pages of this novel with her own hands and recreated it. One maid is very interested if her friend heard about Lady Dahlia. At that moment, the second maid immediately thought that her friend was talking about the girl who was seriously ill. In a whisper, her friend told her that from that moment she became a completely different person, since she began to behave very well towards them. Her friend, worried, did not believe in this, saying that she would already believe that the earth is flat than in this nonsense. She also asked what she was talking about. The most evil woman in the empire is Dahlia Margaret. She is old known for her extreme personality and beautiful looks, and even if the world changes completely, her dirty personality will remain from the same. The maid began to convince her friend, stating that Susan accidentally broke one vase yesterday, and they all already thought that this would be her end. Dahlia just stepped on the wreckage of that vase, so the maid thinks that the main character has really become forgiving. Upon hearing this, the maid with the glasses was shocked. As usually, Dahlia would have thrown another vase at Susan, or poured water on her for such an act. But Dahlia just yelled at her and kicked her out of the room, and Susan started crying because she didn't know that Lady Dahlia was really such a good person. At that moment, Dahlia heard the conversation of these maids and began to approach them. At the same time, the maid suggested that she became such a good person because she was getting weaker every day due to fever. Suddenly, the girl shouted at the maids, asking them why they are talking, they are working. At that moment, the girls slowly turned around and very nervously apologized. At that moment, the main character ordered them to hurry up, and advising them to be careful and not to miss a single speck of dust, since he has a strong cough. After that, the maids were left alone and immediately set to work. In addition, they still could not believe that the main character simply scolded them, without expelling them and without doing various bad things with them. At first they thought that Dahlia would just kick them out of the palace for this, or order them to just look at the dust. But as it turned out, she just read them, which made them very happy, and they said that Dahlia is a very good person. Meanwhile, the main character was watching her maids and did not understand why they call her good, and most likely their standards of kindness is too low. In a past life, the main character was fascinated by the book she read, and now that she reincarnated into the main character of this book, she vowed to play the role of Dahlia perfectly. She only decided to play the part for a week, but in the week she's been playing, she's already been swept up in some kind of rumor. Dahlia went crazy to some extent, and the rumor is that she became a completely different person. Namely, she became good after suffering from a fever. According to the plot, she should be abandoned by her husband whom she loved very much, and after that she will die. However, she promised herself that she would not let things go that way, no matter what happened. She had to survive. When she opened her eyes, she was very surprised and thought that the world was playing a cruel joke on her, and did not let her die, as in the story. She woke up in her bed feeling very ill with a fever. The first two people she saw were her father, who Dahlia didn't even know what he looked like. After talking with a man who calls himself her father, the girl finally understood where she was, namely in Flore. Born to be Loved, where the main female lead is Flore Margaret. They all addressed her as Flor, but as Dahlia, the villainess. And this is the price of taking your own life. Being in some room, the main character was glad that Lee Soo-yeon at least didn't get into this world. And it's good that she was able to get rid of this bad garbage. Suddenly, the butler came into her room and bowed, said that the Count was calling her, and it was his duty to accompany her to the living room. At that moment, Dahlia was at a loss and did not understand how to act, so she thought that she would behave as rudely as possible. Then she ordered the butler to leave her room. Hearing this, butler was at a loss and apologized. Dahlia also noticed that the butler was leaving for too long and began to pretend that she was very unhappy with this and was already ready to throw a candlestick at him since he could not hear her well. Hearing this, the butler was very frightened and immediately began to run away from this room, begging the girl to forgive him. Outside the door, the butler decided to rest a little and realized that the rumors were true. And Lady really became a little strange, because usually if an uninvited guest comes into her room, she would go crazy. Leaving your room in a beautiful black dress, the main character noticed the butler whom she had just yelled at. Looking at him, she thought that she had acted too ugly with him, and this worries her. So she will now come up to him and apologize, then continue to feel guilty. She quickly apologized to the guy and immediately ran, leaving the guy with his mouth open and in complete shock, since this is the first time a lady has apologized to someone. Still unable to recover from what was happening, the butler covered his mouth with his hands and understood that he would never forget this day in his life. Looking in the mirror, Dahlia realized that she would live her second life as a villainess. But she did not understand what she had done wrong in her past life. The girl realized that she had not yet met Flore. But before this happens, she must come up with a solution. So as she approached the door, she decided that she would act like in the book and meet Flore at the right timing, as it would be best for both of them. Suddenly, a man opened the door to the room where Dahlia was and shouted the name of the main character. Turning into a girl, she saw her father and immediately ran up to him and tried to find her daughter for some time. He did not understand why she was in the library because he asked her to come to the living room, to which the girl replied that she was just trying to find some book. Father said that he brought his sister Dahlia, which surprised the girl a little. Then he asked Flore to enter the room. Then the girl immediately introduced herself and stated that starting today she is the younger sister of Dahlia. Father said Flore lived in a barn in Western Gaulia and she might still miss her home, so Father asked his eldest daughter to guide her well. Looking at her sister, Dahlia realized that she looks like a typical heroine. She also thought that the first thing she should try to gain her favor. The girls immediately shook hands, and the main character asked Flore from that day on to name her sister. It was mentioned in the novel that Flore has chronic problems due to which she has poor eyesight. Suddenly, Dahlia noticed a scar on Flore's hand, which she was very surprised. The girl remembered fragments of her past life in which some girl mocked the main character, and she also had the same scar on her arm. Dahlia asked what kind of scar it was, to which her sister, frightened and holding her hand, said that it was an old scar, and she specifically hides it behind her sleeve because it looks ugly. The main character realized that something was strange here, since the first meeting with her sister happened earlier than usual. Then, she asked about her sister how she got this scar. But Flore, frightened, did not understand why her older sister asks such strange questions. Dahlia didn't understand why her questions are weird since she's just asking about her old scar, and as expected, Flore is also different from the original. At that moment, Father said that Flore was too pretentious, even if she grew up among ordinary commoners. Then the girl nevertheless decided to tell where she got this scar from, and she stated that this scar remained after quarreled with a friend. After this crying, she apologized for answering so rudely. She also stated that due to the fact that she does not see well, if someone suddenly touches her, she can easily get scared. Analyzing the scars and character of her sister, the main character realized that her hypothesis was nevertheless confirmed. The hypothesis that someone who was like a curse to her in the past is now neglected came true. At that moment, Dahlia remembered the moment of her past life where she was on the roof of some tall building. Then Lee Soo-yeon, who had always hurt Dahlia in her past life, abruptly opened the door upstairs, was finally able to find her friend. Inhaling deeply, she showed some piece of paper to the main character and asked if she was really ready to jump now. She also added that this letter would not scare her in any way. Looking at her friend, the main character said that she really wanted to be born again with Lee Soo-yeon in the same world, in order to finally take revenge on her. Upon hearing this, Lee Soo-yeon immediately ran towards Dahlia. However, the heroine had already started jumping down, saying that she would be waiting for her friend in another world. And this all happened right before the main character opened her eyes in Dahlia's body. At that moment, the main character realized that she took over the body of Dahlia in this novel, and Lee Soo-yeon became Flore, and now she can do what she wants. The main character is very upset by the memories of those days, and she will not allow her sister to smile and live happily after all that she did in a past life. Fortunately, she has poor eyesight, and if the main character hides her scar on her arm, then she will be able to deceive her, and Flore will not understand that Dahlia is her enemy from a past life. Realizing that she finally has a chance to take revenge on this man, the main character is some piece of paper, and decided to sum up the original story first. At the very beginning of the novel, Flore is dancing with some man with yellow hair. As it turned out, she will meet the male lead, Noel, the Emperor. Noel will become interested in Flore's pure and honest appearance. Also, after the girl notices the tyrannical qualities of this man, she will slowly begin to influence him, and in the end, they will get married. Clutching a photo with a happy couple in her fist, the main character realized that she could not allow a happy ending, and she should somehow learn more about the original story. Meanwhile, Flore, who had just woken up, said that she was very tired. At the same time, the maids who were next to her were very interested in where the girl came from and where she used to live. But the girl ordered the maid to start her work and not ask stupid questions. Then the maid apologized and said that she would immediately start combing her hair. Combing her hair, she asked if her mother would not be disappointed in the girl, to which Flore quickly replied that she makes a lot of money, and her mother, having heard this, would not be disappointed in her. The woman who works as a maid at Biddle's mansion, and she was kicked out with an illegitimate child. Besides, this is the woman who, with her wrinkled hands, touched the girl's face in that barn. This is Flore's mother. Then the girl said that the servants should forget about such useless questions and tell her better about Dahlia. Nervous maid said that Lady Dahlia has a crush on the Emperor, besides the rumor that at this debutante the Emperor will escort. When the girl heard this, she was immediately surprised. She was very interested in what kind of emperor the maid was talking about. As it turns out, this is the second most handsome man in the entire empire, and since he recently became emperor, he is still alone. After that, the girl wanted to sleep and told her maid, whose name is Vivi, that she could leave. Lying on her bed, the girl did not understand where she was at all. In addition, she cannot see normally, which greatly upsets her. She remembered how she tried to stop Cha Min-ju, but she couldn't do it, and most likely she just reincarnated into this body. Taking a small mirror, the girl said that even if it was so, she was very lucky, and even God was sorry that she died like that. From her crappy old family, she now lives in a luxurious mansion, but the girl did not understand why Dahlia was ignoring her, and it annoyed her. Remembering the Emperor, the girl decided that the main character should enjoy it while he stayed with her, as soon she would take him. The day of debutante ball has already arrived, where a bunch of different people from the high strata of society gathered. The main character and her sister were wearing beautiful dresses. Suddenly their father called them both to him. He said that the person over there is Emperor Noel Hater Serbien. They should go and greet him. Suddenly Noel approached the girls himself and thanked them for inviting him to this beautiful palace ball. The guy looked at the girls, said that he heard a couple of rumors, but the girl's father deserved credit for being able to grow 2 flowers of Count Margaret's family. Looking into the guy's eyes, Dahlia realized that her character has been trying to seduce this guy for a long time. After that, she bowed to the guy and greeted him, saying that he is the Emperor of the Empire of the Sun, which never sets. Original Dahlia didn't know, but this guy and everyone else doesn't really love her. Because of that, they can't fall in love with each other. After that, Flore also greeted the Emperor in the same way. Noel was very happy about this, and said that it was an honor for him to ball. He also asked which of the two of them would like to dance with him. In the original novel, Dahlia was rejected, and Noel chose Flore to dance, as if to deliberately undermine Dahlia's pride. At that moment, the main character decided to give up the dance, which greatly surprised her sister and her father. She said that she appreciates the offer of Noble to dance. However, she thinks that she feels very bad today in order to dance. After that, she apologized for her insolence. After that, she pushed her sister forward, stating that she would like to ask him to be her sister's escort, while Flore was at a loss to understand why her sister forced her to dance. After that, the main character went about her business with the idea that she should not aim at Noel, but at some other person. The guy stayed to watch the main character leave, and he was perplexed because everyone said that Dahlia loves him, and now she just left him. The main character was on some kind of balcony, in the sense that according to the original story, the guy she is now waiting for should now come to this place. While she was thinking about her sister falling in love with Noel, some guy with black hair started approaching Dahlia, saying that someone did it, and most likely, it was her. Turning around, the girl was finally able to see the guy she was waiting for, and this guy turned out to be Johann Cartesian Serbien, Noel's half-brother, and the man who poses a threat to the current tyranny in the empire. Approaching the girl, he said that he thought that she would be accompanied by Peha, but as it turned out, she was here. Looking straight at the girl's eyes, the guy said that he heard that the girl does not speak to anyone except Peha, asking if this is true. The girl, grinning, asked the emperor not to believe in all these rumors that go around. After she greeted the guy, she asked him if he had any free time. After that, she said that Johann must do something. When he heard this, the guy was a little surprised. And I don't understand what the main character is talking about, thanks if this is some kind of story that he should know about. At that moment, Dahlia declared that her sister would be by His Majesty's side, and he should not worry about it. After hearing this, the guy thought because Count Biddle introduced her as his marriage partner, but now she will be next to his brother. After that, the main character said that his brother will soon fall in love with her sister. Also, the girl has already slowly begun to adapt to isolation, and she will never set foot where Johann is. After that, she approached the guy's ear, and in a whisper, she knows the past and future of some people. When he heard this, the guy was at a loss and did not believe in it. But the girl said that she was not obliged to believe in it, but it would be very important from now on. After that, looking the guy straight in the eyes, Dahlia asked him if he wanted to marry her, which surprised the guy a little. He didn't understand what the main character was talking about now. Grinning, the girl once again asked if he was ready to marry her so that they would take revenge together. The guy immediately stated that there was a misunderstanding somewhere since he never had thoughts of revenge. But Dahlia firmly stated that it was all a lie, and asked the guy if he had any desire to free Her Majesty. His Majesty refused to let go of the mother of the guy who was the Empress from the Imperial Palace. After this guy, if it wasn't the reason that Johann complied with Noel and went to the Northern Territory, Johann was just in shock, and I don't understand how the girl knows all this. Grinning, Dahlia once again said that she somehow knows the future and past of some people, and thanks to this, she was able to find out all this information. Then she added that her son was unjustly deprived of the throne and sent off to the north. Her Majesty would have been heartbroken. Perhaps his desire is very similar to Dahlia's desire, namely to take revenge on the one whom he really hates a lot. After that, the girl calmly asked the guy if he wants to return his throne, which greatly surprised the guy because she did not know that she even knew that. Dahlia stated that the only thing she did not know was her own future, and it is precisely because of this that she needs to find an ally for herself. Then the smiling girl asked him if he was ready to propose to her now. The guy turned away, saying that now he is in a position when he can't propose to her in any way, since she doesn't even love him. He can see it in her eyes, since it is difficult to look into the eyes of the person you love for a very long time without shaking. However, the main character looks at the guy calmly. Dahlia was very interested if someone likes Johann, to which he replied that at the moment, no. When she heard this, the girl was delighted because it is very good for both of them, and they can get married without any problems, and their conscience will be clear. But the guy firmly stated that he refuses her offer. After a while, the father of the main character hit her hard in the face, saying that she had gone crazy, and not understanding why she wants to get married. She is Archduke. At that moment, the main character realized that his father was really using her as a tool in order to gain more strength. After that, he left his daughter alone in the room and ordered her that she was no longer allowed to leave the mansion. Looking out the window, Dahlia thought about everything that happened, and according to rumors, Fleur danced with Noel's escort. In her past life, she was alone in her high school because her parents separated, but she still lived a happy life. But when she met Lee Soyeon in high school, her life changed drastically. At first, Lee Soyeon looked like an angel who came down from heaven, but Dahlia has always been on the sidelines adapting to everything. However, Lee Soyeon slowly began to isolate and abuse her, and unable to bear it all, she decided to leave this world. At that moment, she suddenly opened her eyes in this world, where she was transferred to the body of Dahlia, and her scar on her arm was also transferred with her. Looking into the yard, the girl noticed her sister who was picking flowers. Today she must go to the salon who invited her there, and there she will be humiliated by all the other ladies who loved the emperor. However, Noel grand entrance and save her. Then the main character said that it was time for her to act, and she asked her maid, whose name is Anne, if everything is ready. After that, Dahlia asked her maid if she could prepare a carriage for her, as she wanted to meet the emperor. The maid began to get nervous because, on the orders of her father, the main character should not leave the mansion. However, Dahlia asked her to go talk to her father. Listen, this girl immediately ran. After a while, Anne returned with some kind of headdress, and when she saw this, the main character was delighted because she could still go to the emperor and meet him. Going down the stairs, she was very interested where her father is. To which Anne replied that he left a message that he would go to the palace first, and he had just left. Suddenly, the mother, who was wearing a green dress, noticed her daughter. Despite her, she was worried because she thought that Dahlia had a bad dream, since she did not look very good today. She was also very interested why her daughter refused to dance with the emperor, and when she heard this, she was very shocked. Holding her daughter by the hand, the woman said that many people in the past do not say that Flora also loves the emperor. So she advised her daughter to go and dispel these rumors. While in the carriage, the main character asked the driver to turn around because she wants to go to a completely different place, namely Neodaya House. When he heard this, the driver was at a loss, since by order of the Lord, he must lead her to a completely different place. But being afraid of Dahlia, he nevertheless decided to obey her order. In addition, the main character told him not to worry, since she herself is all responsible and nothing will threaten him. In the evening, they were finally able to get to this location where there was a huge house with a bunch of different rooms. Looking at this building, Dahlia realized that only high-ranking aristocrats know about this place. But since she read the book, that's all she needs. Knocking on the door, the butler came out of the house, who was at a loss and did not understand who the main character was. Dahlia introduced herself and immediately apologized for coming so late at night. But she has urgent business and needs to meet the Grand Duke. Then the guy asked the girl to wait a while. After a couple of seconds, another guy came out who bowed in front of the girl and said that he would help her get to the Grand Duke. Walking around this huge building of Dahlia, this guy must be very wondering why she is here at this time of day. They were already in front of the Grand Duke's door. Upon entering the room, the girl began to greet the Duke. But the guy said that no formal greetings were needed, since this was not the first time they had met. Looking at the main character, the guy caught why she came at such a late time of the day without any invitation, and he suggested that she used her ability to see the past and the future in order to find this mansion. Taking off her headdress, the main character apologized for disturbing him, and she came here without any invitation only to end their conversation. Johan did not understand why the main character does not want to leave him, since he clearly told her last time that he does not want to participate in her affairs, and refused. He asked Dahlia if she just wants to receive the title of Grand Duchess. Smiling, the main character replied that it was not so. Although she would like to receive this title, she stated that she needed to find an ally for herself, and she would be very happy if this ally turned out to be Johan. Scratching his chin, the guy did not understand why she came to him and not to Peha. At that moment, the main character was left without words and did not understand why Johan always likes to use this method. She said she respected the Grand Duke's decision, and this was her last chance to change his mind. However, so now it's very late. The main character asks the Duke to give her a room so that she can spend the night. Johan, holding his head, understood that if Dahlia returned to her mansion right now, a scandal would begin. The girl knew this very well. Then Smirk, the main character, asked the guy if he would give her a room if he could still figure out her plan. The guy replied that she was no longer the type of person who would give up so easily, and it would be better for him if she left right now and they say tomorrow, but still decided to give her a room. After that, he asked the butler to send the main character to her room. While in her room, Dahlia realized that now is the time when the moon will completely hide itself under the clouds. And in the original story, Johan always go out to the balcony at night to look at the sky. Leaving her room, the main character was still able to see a guy who really looked at the sky while on the balcony, and this is his constant habit. Dahlia also noticed that the assassins who were sent by Count Biddle had also arrived, and now it was her turn to act. She immediately ran towards the Duke and tried to warn him at the same time. The assassin immediately attacked them, but due to the fact that the main character stood in front of the Duke, assassin hit Dahlia, which severely wounded her in the arm. When the assassins realized that they had accidentally attacked Lady Dahlia, they were just an introduction. They understood what she was doing here, and so that they would not be caught, they immediately decided to run away. Dahlia, feeling just terrible because of the pain in her arm, asked the guy if everything was fine with him. Johan was shocked by the actions and the main characters and did not understand why she was asking him this at the same time as she received serious injuries. The main character nervously said that she decided to leave her room because she could not sleep. But suddenly she noticed some suspicious people and immediately decided to stop and see what they intend to do. However, the truth is that the assassination attempt failed in the original story, and even without the help of Dahlia, Johan would have been able to deal with all these assassins alone. Looking the girls straight in the eyes, the guy told me that the first thing now they need to get to some safe place. At the same time, the girl is smiling as everything went according to her plan, and the last chance to convince him to get married is to put him in her debt by letting get hurt herself. The next day, the girl woke up in the same mansion, and next to her bed was Johan, who was very worried about Dahlia's health. Ask her if she came to her senses and how she feels. Seeing that the girl feels very well, the guy sighed as he is very glad that her health is now nothing threatens. Johan bandaged the girl's wound, stating that if they had waited a little longer, the poison that was on the blade of that knife would have spread throughout her body, and he would have been unable to save her. After that, the girl asked if Johan was safe, which left the guy in the stupor, since she worries more about him than about her, even when it is in such a state. Then he decided to check if the main character accidentally had a fever, but Dahlia said, smiling, that everything was fine with her, and asked if the Duke could catch those suspicious guys who attacked them yesterday. Johan said that unfortunately he missed them, and they were able to escape. He also forgot to say some words, namely, he thanked the girl for saving his life. Dahlia realized something, her perfect chance to once again convince the guy by the way to her side and marry her, but suddenly the guy started touching Dahlia. I declare that when she was sleeping she kept saying the same thing, namely, she said that she wants to take revenge as soon as possible, and she will definitely do it. But Johan, who is the object of her resentment, and what are the real intentions in marrying him? I'm very nervous. The main character once again reminded him that she just needs to find herself an ally. But Johan did not believe in her words, and asked to stop making excuses and answer honestly. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for him to reconsider her proposal. Realizing that Dahlia will not be able to deceive the guy all the time, she decided to still reveal her real intention, and stated that she just wants revenge, namely, to take revenge on Fleur Margaret. She is a child who was recently adopted into her family, and the main character needs the power that comes with marrying Johan. Hold him up a lot to share her power. Then she will be able to deal with everything she needs. Besides, she will help the Duke to take revenge on someone too. And if her revenge is successful, she will leave this world with no regrets. Johan assumed something because Fleur caught Noel's eye, and the main character is just jealous of her. At that moment, the girl started laughing because she did not understand why she needed Noel. She also wanted to clarify one thing, which is that she doesn't like Noel. And the guy shouldn't believe all the rumors from the commoners, since she didn't think that Johan could be fooled so easily. Then Johan, touching the face of the main character, said that he was ready to accept her offer only under two conditions. First of all, they need to get engaged, because if they get married so quickly, then Noel will be the first suspect. since the whole empire already knows that the main character is in love with him, and what everyone will think if suddenly Dahlia marries Johann. At that moment, the main character remembered the expression on Noel's face that day, and she is sure that he has no feelings for her at all. So she told the Duke that Noel had no feelings for her at all, and in fact it was all fake rumors that annoyed her a lot. Johann said that this is her opinion, and immediately began to talk about the second condition, namely that even if they get married, the maximum that he can do is give her rights, but he will never help her, no matter what happens in her family. Since Count Biddle was the one who drove Johann to hell in the original book, the main character has no reason to worry about her family. Then she agreed to the guy's conditions and said that she also had some conditions. The first, Johann must never lie to her. The second, he must never betray her. And finally, the third, the Duke must never sympathize with Flore. And no matter what the main character does to her sister, he should never stop her. Johann realized that the conditions are not so difficult already, but he will think about the last condition more. A couple of days later, he asked Count Vidal to deliver a letter to Noel. The report stated that Noel would not allow his brother to marry because the empire was still unstable and needed the help of the Grand Duke. However, why don't you replace the wedding with an engagement? And after a while, Johann and Dahlia got engaged, and the main character received a letter from Johann. Suddenly, the father asked his daughters to get together as they should go to the palace together. The current guardian, if the Serbian Empire is Sweeten, the goddess of water, but the number of believers is overwhelming because there are a lot of disadvantages if you don't believe in the popular religion. While in the carriage, the protagonist's sister asked her if she was really engaged to the Grand Duke, which surprised Dahlia a little, as she did not understand why it was so interesting Flore. Flore said that it's amazing that the main character could get so close to him. So when she saw him for the first time, she thought that he was hard to deal with. That moment Dahlia that Flore was able to get Noel's favor, as there are already many rumors about this. But the girl immediately blushed and said that this was a fake rumor. The main character was very interested if Flore loves Noel, to which she immediately said that no, but although he is a very good person. Looking at her sister, the main character told her that Noel simply did not know what to do since he had a crush on Flore. Also, the girl said that if her sister marries Noel, she will become an empress, which shocked Flore today as she is not thinking about any wedding yet. In fact, Dahlia told Flore this all on purpose, so that she would get lost in her fantasies and reality would hit her at the moment when she would be very happy, making her fall into hell. Meanwhile, the heroes have already come to the palace where only highly sacred people can enter, and her father is not going to take his daughters inside. The father said that they could still go with him, which surprised the heroine a little, and she thought that they already have a small sacred power. Suddenly, Flore saw one beautiful tall guy with a white cloak who impressed her very much. She was very interested in the same, is this guy. Looking at the guy's face, Dahlia told her that this is just a knight who protects the chapel. His name is Aaron Charlotte, he is a knight of the Holy Order and the brother of Helen Charlotte. He plays a huge war in war and he is as popular as his sister. Looking at the guy, Dahlia did not understand what he was doing in this novel, and in theory he should not be here. Then the mass that had been going on all this time ended, and all the nobles gathered together, but they could not miss such beautiful girls, and immediately began to praise them, calling them very beautiful. The main character, laughing, did not understand why the mass ended so quickly. Suddenly among the crowd of nobles, she noticed Johann, who did not take his eyes off her. Noticing the guy, the girl was very surprised because she did not expect to see him here. At that moment, Johann stated that he felt as if they had not seen each other for a long time, to which the main character immediately agreed. Suddenly, Dahlia's father stood between the couple so that the Duke would not talk to his daughter. Father was very curious why the guy didn't come here today. Johann explained that he came to meet Noel. After that, he pushed his father aside and going up to the main character, said that he wanted to tell something. Also, the guy extended his hand to the girl saying that they should only be together. Suddenly, the father again stood between the couple and tried to stop their conversation, as he did not want his daughter to somehow have any connection with the Grand Duke. Dahlia understood that if the aristocrats saw this, they would immediately get excited. Count Beidel wants the main character to marry Noel, and this situation would be unfavorable for him. Johann told Dahlia's father that he wanted to talk to her about the upcoming engagement, and he would quickly return his daughter to him. After that, they went to a place where no one could accidentally hear or notice them. Looking at each other in the eyes of the main character, did not understand why the Duke wanted them to talk alone. Duke said he heard Dahlia send a letter to the Emperor saying he wouldn't let Johann marry her. After hearing this, the main character realized that someone wants to interfere with them, but she was sure that they would still allow them to get married. Johann was at a loss. Didn't understand why the main character was so sure of this, besides that she was the one who said that they love Noel, but did not know that they would meet in this way at the palace. At that moment, Dahlia immediately realized that Johann thought that she came here only because of Noel and wanted to meet him, but in fact it is not so. The real reason to see her here is to meet Duke Charlotte's daughter, who is a saintess. After that, she asked the Duke to help her meet her. Johann said that this was an unexpected request and did not understand why she suddenly wants to meet the saintess. Dahlia explained this by saying that she just wants to get even more allies who can help her. She will let Flore and Noel follow the original story and help Johann get the throne. When Flore rolls in the mud, the main character will laugh and let her know that this was her plan all along. However, there is a strong possibility that Flore will be able to change the original story, and in order to prevent, the main character wants to find another ally, a person who has power and is unhappy with Noel. And if she can convince the saintess to take the side of the main character, then it will be very good for her. But of course, this is a secret that Johann should not tell anyone. In addition, Dahlia has never seen Saintess in her life, but only they have heard. Therefore, she is very interesting to meet her in real life. Also, when not trained later, they will need an oracle from the temple, and Dahlia are going to say hi in advance to make sure theirs is good. Then the guy said that he would fulfill the request of Dahlia, but he was very interested in what benefit he would get from this. He said that a new salon will open in a couple of days, and he will participate on behalf of Noel. Then the main character asked him if he was talking about the salon that will open at Lord Percival's mansion, which shocked the guy a little. He didn't understand how she knew that. Suddenly he remembered that the main character has some kind of ability. He asked if she found out this with the help of her abilities. Albert Percival, the son of Baron Percival. He was rushed home because of his parents' accident. Albert supported Johann, and Noel disapproved of that. This made Albert's rank lower, but later he became Johann's personal aide. Also, the guy said that there will be someone at that event who will bother him a lot. So he wants Dahlia to interfere with this and intervene. At that moment, the main character thought, because even that indifferent man gets bothered by someone, and she suggested that they are harassing him and supporting Noel. She also remembers this salon that happened there, and this event will have a big impact on the love story between the main character, Flore, and Noel. At that moment, Dahlia asked what gender the person who annoys the Herze is, and whether he met or at least saw the face of this person. The guy said something to the woman, but Dahlia should stop asking you such sharp questions because he won't be able to answer them. Then the main character realized that it seems that a couple of young women are chasing him. If she does not say hello to his proposal, then she will not be able to meet Saint. Therefore, she firmly stated that she would try to help him. She also asked him not to think that the future Grand Duchess could not solve a problem of this level. Then the Duke extended his hand to the main character and, rejoicing that she would help him, offered to return back to the rest of the people. In addition, he said that if they hurry up, Dahlia will be able to meet with the Saintess right now. After they returned, Father Dahlia was waiting for them, how he was very worried about his daughter. But the Duke explained to the father that they just talked for a long time and apologized for it. At that moment, the father said that he would arrange a meeting with Johann later. At that moment, the guy started to get something out of his cloak, saying that he had something to give to the temple. Then he took out some kind of box and asked Dahlia if she could pass it on instead of him. Then the main character immediately realized that the guy was talking about Saintess Helen, with whom he promised that Dahlia would meet. The girl took this box and said that it was safe to deliver it. Johann added that you ask her to help him with this since the main character is the only one he believes in. After that, the Duke left. Dahlia's father nervously said that they should already go to the cabinet meeting in order to meet Count Biddle. But the main character said that she would catch up with them since she first needed to deliver this little box. Also, the main character added that she would take her sister with her. Flore was a little surprised. After that, they went, and Flore did not understand where they were going, but Dahlia asked her sister to just follow her without asking questions. Besides, their father will be at this meeting for many hours. Dahlia asked her sister not to worry as they are just going to the chapel. The saint, Helen Charlotte, is the youngest daughter of Duke Charlotte, who told an oracle and became a saint. One day she foresaw in an oracle that some man would appear who would take over the throne. She told it to her brother Aaron, and he immediately went to Noel Wright during the war and told him the news. Maybe this is why she's reluctant with Noel and Aaron. There was no reason to be reluctant in the original book. She was on the previous emperor's side, and she believed that Johann would be the successor. Meanwhile, the girls had already come to the door to the chapel, and the main character wanted to come in. Therefore, she asked her sister to wait for her here. But Flore didn't want Dahlia to leave her alone and grab her by the arm and try to stop her. Then the main character remembered a moment from her past life in which Lee Suyan also grabbed the main character's hand in the same way. She said that she has no right to show her rudeness here. Also, you need to remember that if she continues to behave in this way, it may somehow affect their father. Then Flore quickly apologized and said that she would be waiting for her here. The main character said to wait for her here because after the meeting Peha will pass by here, so she needs to greet him properly. Hearing this, Flore was a little surprised and said that she would do everything as she says. Going inside, the main character talked about the fact that even if she was a little late, Count Biddle would take care of everything. There was some kind of knight behind her who showed which side the saintess room was. Approaching the door, there was a small hole through which ordinary people can communicate with the saintess. In addition, the inside is covered with cotton. When the saintess heard that Dahlia Margaret had come to her, she was very surprised, and was a little surprised to learn that the nobleman had come such a long way to find her. At that moment, the main character was a little surprised because the saintess did not even see her face. She immediately recognized her, and suggested that this was all thanks to her holy abilities. Saintess asked her to just call her Helen, since it was more convenient for her. Dahlia started to say that the Grand Duke said that he wanted to give her something, but unfortunately he could not. So he sent her to this place. After that, she parted these curtains, and behind them there was some girl with some kind of cloth on her head who said that the main character can go inside. Inside, there was a very beautiful room with various interesting materials and artifacts that interested Dahlia. Suddenly, Helen was behind the main character and greeted her. Because of this, she was very scared as she did not expect that she would be behind. How did she even get there? After that, Helen asked Dahlia to calm down and sit down for them to talk. At the same time, the main character still could not calm down, as she did not understand why it is necessary to appear so suddenly in order to scare people. She greeted the girl and immediately took out this little blue box, a direct order from Grand Duke, and he told her to deliver this box here. After that, where behind him was a beautiful girl with red hair and red seductive eyes, which surprised the main character a little. Helen immediately said that Johann told her about the main character's ability to see the past and the future. At that moment, Dahlia was very tense because she already thought that someone found out about her real personality. After that, Helen asked how Dahlia ended up in this body. The main character began to get very nervous and did not even know how to answer it, and just pretended not to understand what Helen was talking about. Suddenly, the girl started laughing out loud, saying that she was just joking, and decided to diffuse the situation in this way. Since Dahlia looks too tense, she also apologized for such a stupid joke. After that, the girl decided to open this box where inside she saw a beautiful ring with an orange crystal. Seeing this, Helen was very surprised and said that the rumors that the Grand Duke was very passionate about Dahlia turned out to be true, and she cannot believe that he asks her to bless and baptize the engagement ring. When the main character heard this, she herself was surprised because she herself did not know that it was an engagement ring. In addition, how does Helen know something about an engagement ring? Suddenly, Helen said that she sees Dahlia in the eyes, that she is very interested in how she knows that this is an engagement ring. Then she asked the main character to look at the center of this gem. Looking at this gem, the main character did not notice the wolf there, which is insignia of the Cartesian family. Also, the same insignia is on Johann's clothes, and that means that this is the royal one, and Dahlia thought something very beautiful. In addition, this color goes well with Emperor Peha. When the main character realized that she had said it out loud, She immediately began to feel embarrassed. This ring made for a man believed in, what is the new sun for an empire, and Helen can believe she did something like this so out of place. At that moment, the main character added that at the end, it was for Luna. But she immediately covered her mouth with her hand since she shouldn't have said it, and felt awkward again. After that, she apologized to Helen, but the girl said that everything is fine, and the main character did not say anything bad. Besides, she was very interested in why she wanted to meet her. Since if the Grand Duke wanted to leave some things for her, then she would ask another assistant to do this. So the Saintess suggested that the main character specifically ask the Grand Duke to meet Helen. At that moment, Dahlia realized that this is the perfect person who can greatly help her plan, and she asked if Helen could help her with marriage to the Grand Duke, not just engagement. Helen was a little surprised and asked if the engagement was one step closer to marriage, to which the main character replied that she was afraid that she did not yet know if the heart of the Grand Duke might cool down, and she came here to see if she likes it because she wants to get married as soon as possible. At that moment, Helen started using her orb to read the future. It was with purple light and some purple particles came from her. After she finished, the girl said that the goddess didn't answer and she couldn't hear any prophecies. If that happens, then the wedding ceremony will happen quickly, and the temple will be built in the northern lands as a token of gratitude for the oracle. Suddenly, Dahlia heard how Helen advises, and it is better to listen to the oracle, since he will most likely have to pay tribute to her in advance. Listen to this. The main character did not understand a little what Danny was talking about. Smiling, Helen stated that if she paid tribute, the goddess might understand her despair, although it sounds more like a scam. Besides, Helen stands still to bless the wedding ring without mentioning that they don't know if the oracle will come down clearly yet, and when it comes down, they offer a reward and ask for a tribute. Hearing this, Dahlia totally agreed and decided to leave this place as she had already completely figured it out. Leaving this room, she heard that she had to wait 10 days before she knew the answer. Turning around, the main character noticed that Helen had disappeared somewhere and some white particles were flying in this room. That you were doing such things rather strange. Go outside. The main character immediately met her sister there, who had been waiting for her all this time. She was very interested in what Dahlia was talking about with Saintess. Suddenly, the main character noticed that their father had returned, and he wondered if his daughters had been waiting for them for so long. The main character wanted to know how he was doing there, but the father said that he was very tired from this meeting. They were also allowed to attend audiences nearby. Also, Dahlia realized that her sister didn't even meet Noel today, and she decided that she would not attend the audience more than her father, and he said that they both should be there. Then the main character said that she should leave so feel very bad, and she has health problems. When he heard this, the father got very angry and said that she was just trying to run away in order not to meet Noel, and he did not understand why she abruptly stopped liking him. At that moment, Dahlia realized that her expectations were justified, and her father really wants to sell her to this emperor. Suddenly, Johann appeared behind the girl, who was very surprised that the heroes are still at this event. He extended his hand to the main character with the words that he would accompany her to the main gate. But the father immediately tried to stop the guy, saying that they would soon go to the hall. But the Duke stated that Dahlia's face does not look too good, and most likely she really feels bad. So he stated that he could not just look at the main character like that. And apologizing, he took her hand, and they went to the gate. At that moment, the main character asked her father to wait a bit, as she will quickly talk to the Duke and will definitely return to her father. Walking around the territory of the palace, Johann asked if Dahlia was able to meet Saintess. The main character said that she was quite surprised when she saw that there was a ring inside this box. Thanks if he always carries this ring with him. The Duke replied that he should have given this ring back at the moment when they first met, which surprised the girl a little, and she did not believe it. Also, the Herkeg said that he had an order from His Majesty. Namely, he asked him to be nice with Dahlia before the engagement ceremony, and to her family too. After that, the guy said that there were some rumors that the main character was infatuated with Noel. But looking at her current behavior, the guy doesn't believe it at all. Suddenly, some butler approached the couple, and at that moment, the main character noticed Noel's insignia on his clothes. After that, he said that Noel asked him to bring both of them to his room, which greatly surprised the girl. The father of the protagonist, who had just approached them, decided to ask if he did not mention Lady Flora, but the butler said that His Majesty did not say anything. Meanwhile, Noel sat quietly in her office and dined very tasty food and drank various drinks. At that moment, his brother came up to his table, who was very interested in why he was called. But Noel stated that it's nothing important. Dahlia then entered the room and immediately greeted Noel by bowing before him. The guy then was very happy and began to wave his hand to the girl, which surprised the girl a little, and she did not understand what was wrong with him and what he intended to do. Then the main character asked the Duke why he looks like that, and if something happened to Noel. Then I said that the date to return to the north has been actually postponed indefinitely. Upon hearing this, the main character immediately got angry and thought that the guy would only stay here for 10 days, but that the guy agreed and said that it was Noel's order that he had to follow, and he had no choice. Having calmed down, she asked if he said something about her sister, to which the guy replied that he did not even mention her. That moment, the main character realized what they needed to get closer to each other as soon as possible. It's been a week since Dahlia missed the salon by using the excuse of not feeling well. Meanwhile, the main character was walking around her mansion and heard two maids talking that Lady Flore has changed a little lately. Looking at these maids, the main character realized that they were slowly beginning to suspect something, and it was only a matter of time before the rumor spread throughout the mansion. After that, the girls went to study, where one of the teachers was very happy that Flore finished her studies today without any mistakes, and she is very proud of her. At the same time, in another room, the main character was also very busy, and the teacher asked her to concentrate as she suddenly stopped. As it turned out, the main character stopped because she heard teacher Flore praising her. This man is the Cartesian's family aide, Written Brooks. Johann brought the closest assistant as a tutor for her. For the last week, the main character has been studying imperial etiquette and basic culture lessons. Studying hard is imprinted into her attitude, and she was able to learn new knowledge and information quickly. After that, Dahlia finished her lessons and went to her room to rest, as she was busy all day today and was already very tired. After that, she decided to think about what kind of dresses she has in order to dress beautifully for this, and realized that she needs new dresses. Then the first thing she decided to do was to check what invitations she received. And when she opened the letter, she saw only 2 invitations, one of which was sent by Flore on the orders of Noel. Reading this letter to the main character, she understood that slowly but surely Noel was becoming interested in her sister. And for her, this is very good. Dahlia thought she didn't want to go there with her sister, but she really wants to see other young ladies who also love Noel bully her, and that's a good idea. In addition, the main character did not understand when the day would come when God would answer her, and how in general she should understand what he would answer her, since before that, God had never heard all her prayers, maybe except for one. At that time, she gave up and decided to jump off the roof, and came into this world to take revenge on Lee Soo-yeon. Therefore, she cannot possibly waste her one and last chance to actually fulfill her vengeance. Suddenly, 2 maids approached Noel and announced that her jewelry has already arrived. She needs to check if she likes it. Then the girl realized that she will have to wrap it up well from the salon. After a while, the main character was somewhere in a beautiful red dress that emphasized her beauty. If so. Besides, she was wearing all the jewelry that she bought. Suddenly, Johann appeared in front of her, who was also dressed very beautifully. Dahlia immediately thanked him for the invitation, but the guy replied that it was an honor for him to have such a guest as her, and reaching out in his hand, he invited the girl to go inside. Inside this building were a bunch of different nobles, who were also dressed very beautifully. Suddenly, some girls noticed the main character who was walking with the Archduke. They started whispering among themselves and saying that she could not get the emperor, so she went for His Highness instead. It's been a while since she heard some bad rumors about herself. But thanks to Lee Soo-yeon, the main character heard a lot of these rumors about her past life. All of a sudden, the guy asked the girl what she was thinking about as she looks too focused. But the heroine replied that she just thinks how beautiful this mansion is, also very interesting. Where is Lord Percival? After that, Johann asked Dahlia if she was worried. The girl replied that if she said no, it would be a lie, since this is the first time she participates in the salon outside the palace, since the news of their engagement spread. The Duke said that the girl had always been the center of attention in previous salons before, and since she was already used to this attention, he thought that she could easily deal with it. She said with a grin that it wasn't. And that's because she had been to Sarat's often when she was little. Because of that, Johan is popular. Listening to this, the guy was bewildered and did not understand what the main character was talking about. She said that from the moment she entered this building, she felt a lot of different looks on her. Everyone rarely saw Johan since he was busy protecting the north, and that's why they now crave you see his beautiful face. Johan laughingly said that Dahlia is now just joking or jealous. At that moment, the main character said that she was already tired of this lame contest and asked the Duke to tell honestly who he wants her to get rid of today. The guy pointing his finger down said that you don't need to kick her out of here, as it would be too much. Looking down, Dahlia noticed one girl in a red dress there. The guy said that before him it was a hindrance. The main character immediately remembered that this girl's name is Joanna Hubert, who is ready to marry Percival at Noel's command. Huberts support Noel, and Albert, who support Johan, are not happy to see her. Then, the main character, grinning, told the guy that it was because of this that he invited her to this salon today. How dare he use his bride for his own selfish purposes? Then the Duke have fallen quite far into his sweet delusion. Johan stated that no one can do this job better than the main character and he has high hopes for her. At that moment, the main character said that who, except for the notorious villainess, would be able to deal with that girl. And she said that she would be right back. It happened right at the beginning of the semester, during the class president elections, where of course she did not participate, but her friend Lee Soo-yeon did. She nominated the main character as a candidate, and all her friends started spreading malicious rumors about her. But the most humiliating thing that I had to face was that the main character became vice president, who was used by Lee Soo-yeon as a slave. Going downstairs, the main character did not understand where her sister and Joanna were. Suddenly, some woman recognized Dahlia and was a little surprised to see her here. As it turns out, this girl was Amy Frill, who had a psychological side to me and the main character over Noel. But Dahlia is too busy to care. Amy asked if the girl really accepted the offer from the Grand Duke, since she didn't think that the main character would do it, and it's hard for her to believe it. But as it turned out, the rumors were true. The girls were very interested in who accompanied the main character to this event, to which Dahlia replied that Johan sent a carriage to her, with which she could comfortably get here. After that, the main character wanted to know who accompanied Amy, which she didn't like much, and she said that Dahlia was behaving too rudely. Looking to the side of the main character, she noticed that her sister was finally able to get here. Amy saw this and asked the main character to teach her sister manners. At that moment, the sister of the main character immediately began to cry because her carriage was simply stuck. Because of this, she could not come on time, and because of this, she was very upset. Then all the nobles who were at that event immediately realized that Amy was guilty of making Flore cry as soon as she arrived. So the girl decided to immediately run away in order not to feel this shame. At that moment, Dahlia understood that the noble societies are not so different from their past school life. One can easily get tangled up in a rumor. At that moment, the main character asked her sister not to touch her dress because she did not like it, although in fact the main character just wants to hide the scar that he has left from his past life. After that, Dahlia asked who Flore was talking to before, to which her sister replied that she was talking to Lay Joanna Hubert, who went to the upper balcony for some fresh air. Upon hearing this, the main character immediately turned around and went to the upper balcony. But suddenly her sister grabbed her by the sleeve, saying that she did not want to be left alone. Seeing that no one was looking at them, the main character immediately hit her sister on the arm, not understanding why she did it, since she had just asked her not to touch her clothes, and what was the point? Flore replied that she was just worried. She would feel better if her older sister was next to her. Dahlia immediately realized that Joanna had simply asked her little sister to hold her back so that Joanna could get to the Duke. And the main character lost her chance to stop her because she was busy with her little sister, who pretends to be very ill. At that moment, the main character immediately ran to the Duke in the sense that she needed to hurry in order to overtake Joanna. But the guy just left the main character alone and immediately ran to her little sister, asking her to be more careful. At that moment, the butler who was carrying some cups of wine stumbled, and these cups began to fall to the ground. Noticing this, the main character decided to use this incident as an excuse to humiliate her little sister. And besides, she does not need to interfere in any way. Suddenly, Johan grabbed the main character so that she would not accidentally get dirty, which greatly surprised the girl since she did not expect this from him. Flor, apologizing, said that this was all for her. At that moment, the main character immediately approached her sister and hit her on the arm, saying that she did it on purpose in order to humiliate her. After that, the Duke, apologizing, said that he needed to leave for a while. Seeing this, the main character also decided to follow him because they needed to talk. Being alone in the room, the guy asked the main character to calm down, so it would be better for everyone. But the main character did not say not to feel sorry for her little sister. Johan said that if he stood and did nothing, Dahlia's dress would get dirty. Dahlia said it doesn't matter and they can just reproach that part later. It's something that doesn't need Johan's sympathy. Johan objected and said that now there are rumors that Noel and her little sister are together. It would be better if the main character does not provoke her in public. Taking the main character by the hands, the guy said that he was just worried about her. If he was more worried about her little sister, he would not have grabbed Dahlia at that moment. Then the girl began to feel very embarrassed and even blushed, because she did not even know how to react to this. After Dahlia calmed down, the Duke suggested going back, because if you don't return for a long time, then everyone else will start spreading rumors. Looking at the guy right in the eyes of the main character, she understood that he was really right. Because if you hear out loud that she is being jealous of Flore, then everyone will think that they have a problem with the engagement. Also, Dahlia was very interested if the Duke could meet Joanna. To which the guy replied that he unfortunately met her, but fortunately Albert took her, and it weren't for him, Johan would have been her captive for a while. In addition, Joanna is interested in the relationship between her little sister and Neol, which means that she suspects that the main character is up to something. After that, the couple, holding hands, went back to the rest of the people who danced merrily. Looking away, the main character noticed Joanna, who looked like she was scared, and Dahlia assumed that she was looking for Johan. And if this is so, then the main character needs to act, so they began to dance the waltz, looking straight at the girl goat. Herseg asked her to smile because when she smiles, she looks much more beautiful. All this was watched by Joanna, who was just furious that her loved one was dancing with some girl, but she could not do anything to him. Dancing. Dahlia reminded Johan how much effort it takes to keep the promise between them. While dancing, the guy did not stop looking into the eyes of the main character, and he said that when he looks at them, he feels like he is in a big purple ocean. And the girl at the same moment also praised the Duke's blue eyes. Was at a loss because before him it was very strange to hear such compliments from Dahlia that they left the girl a little in a stupor, and she did not understand what she had done wrong. Johan said today's Dahlia is completely different from younger her. He remembered that when he was both still small, his parents introduced him to the main character. And even at the first meeting, the main character said that Joanna looks very ugly for a prince, which shocked all the maids. Upon hearing this, Dahlia was at a loss, as in the original book, her character never did this, and she actually said that she was most likely defending herself as Herseg was very popular at that time. Also, the guy said that he heard from Brooks that the main character has been studying a lot lately, and he complimented her for studying so diligently. When the main character heard this, she was completely shocked, since this person usually never praised her but rather scolded her. After that, she stated that she was very surprised by this, since usually Brooks does not like to praise, but thanks to him, she can dance the waltz well now. Then the guy began to get closer to the girl and put his hand on her waist, asking if Brooks did it too when she studied. Seeing this, the main character did not understand what was happening to Johan, and why he suddenly began to touch her and behave with her like that. She also said that she only learned the basic stance, and she would never let him touch her. After that, the couple approached Flor, who sat quietly and did nothing. The main characters immediately apologized for making the girl wait so long for them. Flora also said that the waiter gave her new drinks that she wants to try with her sister, although, in fact, Flora is only so kind when there are other people around her. The main character refused these drinks, but Johan said that his throat was dry, and he would definitely drink something now. Suddenly looking in the direction of Dahlia, noticed the waitress, and assumed that it was she who gave her little sister these drinks. In addition, Flore behaves rather strangely. Suddenly looking at the cup, the main character noticed that Johan drinks from a cup that is made of glass, at the same time as the rest of the cups are made of tin.